I'm passionate about what I do, and it's really important to me. But I don't have this huge chip on my shoulder that everyone's out to get me and I'm trying to prove everybody wrong. I just don't have that. I can't manufacture that, and I don't want to. We got former #2 overall pick LeVar Arrington joining us now. LeVar, good morning. Thanks for getting up, hanging out. What would you make
Appreciate you guys having me.
of Trevor Lawrence's comments? Well, we love it. What would you make of his comments if you were the Jaguars right now, hearing what he had to say?
I love it. I mean, to me, it's a man with a plan, and someone who, there's not a right or wrong idea of having a chip on your shoulder. But this makes me think back to a guy by the name of Peyton Manning. Didn't he wear that same number? Did Peyton Manning wear 16 in college? I think he did, if my memory serves me correctly. I could be wrong, but I will say this. It's very similar in the sense that Peyton Manning didn't win the Heisman. That was all that was left for Trevor Lawrence in college with a 2-loss record over the duration of his time in school. I think that Trevor Lawrence is someone who has a great support group around him. This support group has been grooming Trevor Lawrence for the longest time, not just on his on-field skills and acumen, but off-field and how he views himself, how he views his community, how he views his family. Right. And this is a guy that has supreme confidence. He knows where he wants to go. He has an idea how he's going to do it. And he's going to need every bit of that going to Jacksonville. But I like this approach by Trevor Lawrence. There's really, if you think about it, what is there really for him to have a chip on his shoulder for? He just married his high school sweetheart. He's a God-fearing man. He's just got a lot of things that you check off the boxes and you say, that one time that they were crossing the real bumpy water and Jesus was taking a nap while everybody else was panicking on board. Jesus knew something that everybody else didn't know. And maybe Trevor Lawrence is the new Jesus Shuttlesworth in football,
I love it. I love it. The humility, and that's exactly who this guy is. And the reason why I like this, because I spent 13 years in the locker room seeing guys, including myself, trying to be somebody else. This is what you want out of your quarterback. You want your quarterback to be exactly who they are, because a lot of times we try to put people in a box. We try to say, you know what? This is how Peyton Manning did it. This is how Tom Brady did it. Russell Wilson, this is how he gives his pregame speeches. Be that, because they are great. Trevor Lawrence is who he is. Just continue to be who you are. He's humble. He loves the game. That's the only thing we need to worry about is, do you love the game? Can you produce? Do you have the culture? Will guys follow you? And guys follow Trevor Lawrence. Nick, I hear you over there, and I know we always see differently when it comes to the quarterback position, but, buddy, you're the resident GM. This is what you want to hear out of your quarterback. Why would you want your quarterback to come in and try to get outside of themselves? That's where mistakes happen. That's where they get uncomfortable, Nick. And that's when we see bust.
No. Nick is about to go a different direction.
Let me make this very clear. Don't do it.
Let me make this very clear.
I see it all in his face.
I would trade 4 first-round picks for Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is a singular prospect. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a fantastic career. So my commentary here is less about Trevor Lawrence and more about the idea we're talking about, which is can it be good to be unhealthy, essentially? Which is, you read this whole article, he talks about a work-life balance, talks about how he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder, talks about how football is not everything to him. All the exact type of things you would desperately want to hear if Trevor Lawrence was your son, was your friend, was your fiance, was your brother. And if we are being honest, none of the things you want to hear if Trevor Lawrence is your quarterback. Now, Trevor Lawrence so good, I don't think it's going to matter. And this is a very unpopular stance amongst a millennial, which I am, media members. But it is, I believe, a true fact from history. The most successful people typically are unhealthy, unbalanced, and a little off. And they aren't super happy. They don't have a great work-life balance. They are maniacally focused on their craft, which is, again, not how I would want any of my kids to lead their life. But If you're saying I'm a Jags fan, you probably are really just rooting for the clothes. And you kind of do want your guy to be maniacally focused. Now, again, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a superstar. But Wilds, I think it has become very in vogue to act as if there is not a trade-off in a work-life balance. Because it's like, no, it's what everyone should shoot for. Okay, sure. We'd be a healthier society. But I don't think Steve Jobs had a great work-life balance. I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Bezos, when he was building Amazon, was like, okay, hey guys, no emails on the weekend. It's time for me to unwind. Nope, not how it works. Doesn't seem like Jordan did either, by the way. Jordan seemed maniacally focused. No, if you read the whole article, they talk about it.
What he's saying,
well, no. But the whole, it was not just the chip on your shoulder. The whole thing is about how, like, I'm not going to live and die with what happens with my football team, and win or lose. And now maybe it's because he's very rarely lost. I applaud him for that. Wilds, I don't think that's necessarily the greatest approach if you want to be the greatest. And I think a lot of history backs me up on that.
Okay. I agree with you to a certain extent. However, we know there has been a fetishization of rise and grind, and it's been perpetrated by the media, by the fans, and by sneaker companies. Oh, what time you were at the gym? I got to the gym at 3:30 in the morning. And then you read the research like, you know what? You should actually get 10 hours of sleep if you're an elite athlete. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm still mad I got drafted behind Joe Blow. Oh, not me. It's actually better to have a short memory. Make it easy. Oh, I play angry. I grit my teeth and I want to kill somebody. I'm out for blood. Oh, not Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr out there like, you know what? Better to play with joy and better to relax. Like, do I think Usain Bolt is there every day before he gets done, does his sprinting? That he's
it's documented. He's not one of them big time.
I lost a race when I was in 7th grade. He's like, no, he's chill. He's smiling. He's relaxing. And I do think there's a little bit of a generational shift, Nick, but I think the pivot point was Jordan. That because Jordan was so maniacal and up to the point where we saw in the documentary that he still had grudges, the media fell in line with that, and now we force all of our great athletes to talk like that. Do I think it was a mistake for Trevor Lawrence to say this? No, because I think it was honest. I think you guys are right. However, if I was his publicist, would I be like, hey, you know what? Let's pass on that Sports Illustrated article? Yeah, I would have, because I think fans want to consume the rise and grind fetish. I don't know, Brandon.
I loved it.
It's just like a simple thing.
Listen,
we just that's what we want as fans.
Here's the deal. I live this, right? So all your points are valid. I understand what Nick is saying, but here's the deal. In the locker room, I've seen so many guys flame out because they try to be somebody else. Even me as a wide receiver, when I first got in the league, what I would do is I would have our video department every offseason give me the top 10 wide receivers. We're talking about Reggie Wayne. We're talking about Marvin Harrison, Chad Ochocinco, T.O., Randy Moss, et cetera, Steve Smith, like all the guys, Larry Fitzgerald, and I would watch everybody. And then what I found myself doing was trying to be like them. And then around year 4, there was a shift. I read this book called Good to Great. And then it was like, what is your head talk? What makes you the best at what you do, and stick to that? And I start leaning to, I am the biggest and strongest wide receiver in the NFL. So every time a DB stand in front of me, they're going to feel exactly that. I don't have sweet feet like Chad Ochocinco. I can't run fast like Randy Moss. That's not my game. So I've seen so many guys, especially at the quarterback position, come in and say, you got to be this type of quarterback. You got to be a pocket passer, or you got to lead like Tom Brady, or you got to manage the line of scrimmage like Peyton Manning. And they flame out. Find out who you are and stick to that. My last thing I would say, LeVar, is this. Every time I meet a young athlete, I give them 2 books, both by Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and then also Body, Mind, Mastery, because that teaches the athletes how not to be what Nick is saying, where you can have a little bit of health, you can have some balance, and still be a high performer on the field. And when you get off the field or the court or the pitch, you know you're balanced and you're not who you were when the lights were on.
You know, I always have my guys watch The Count of Monte Cristo because there are a lot of messages, a lot of jewels in that movie. And I think that as I look at this and I think about how that applies to the movie, not enough time to draw all the comparisons with Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence is like he's like a Dantes, you know, he's like a Count of Monte Cristo. He found the treasure.